Hey, what's up guys? This is Oakley and this is going to be our Castle of Sand, and that is because we're playing as part of the DLC, the Tanukids. That's going to be some of the factions that you take that are supposed to be the desert tribes. Anyways, the setup is two Tanukids defending this unfortified settlement here, and it's going to be against two Roman armies, one from the east, one from the west, apparently converging here, and some of the artillery is going to be getting underway, launching some devastating strikes against our troops. We're just kind of sitting and waiting here in these plazas. You can see some shots starting to hit our guys. Not all of these are set to explode, but man, that is some brutal damage done right through there. Our archers and defenses trying to line up, and we can see our tower already going to get some shots off against the Romans, but we're going to be just bombarded straight up. So let's go ahead and watch. Oh, let's get actually a little bit more of this. Yeah, our guys are not doing well. So the Romans have brought heavy artillery, heavy archer support to suppress us as much as possible. So let's put this on slow motion, pop on the HUD so you can see what's going on here. What we've done is we're pushing over on this flank. My Tanukid pikes pushing in the front, going to force these Tagmata Cav back, and then we have some Mavia's Chosen and Desert Warlord. So cavalry pushing around that flank. We're trying to get at the enemy onager, and it looks like we're going to get to him. So sicking some of these lancers against that huge onager piece. So it may very well, get us an advantage, but at the end of the day, it may very well as well have been a trap, because now you can see they had their pikes positioned right here up against this formation, and this is not where you want to be charging. So here comes another charge. Looks like we got into the rear of that formation, but those, yeah, we're sicking some pretty expensive guys against his units. At least we did break one of those. Meanwhile, I've been able to chase these Tagmata Cav away with my pikes, but that means they're just going to come back towards our cavalry, who are now lightning speed retreating, trying to get out of there. So not the best of engagements. Let's again put this on slow motion so we can watch what's going on here. Back to the tactical perspective, you understand what's going on that side of the battlefield. Over in the center, the Romans are lined up with a bunch of their onagers there. Two armored Sagittari, they have a lot of archers. They're going to be unleashing on our defensive positions. Right through here, we have pikes and desert spears, just kind of holding the choke points, more pikes in reserve, and then a layer of desert bowmen, and some reserves. Sprinkling of some of our elite warriors held in reserve. Romans are going to be pushing hard on this flank. Two of these elite Ballistari, very, very good troops, especially against our guys who have relatively no armor. So they're going to be pushing out through there. Onagers also moving forward. I do have two hidden Tanukid ambushers, and they're going to be trying to hit this flank. And then I also have one cavalry force, the Sandstorm Lancers, who can have guerrilla deployment. They're trying to get at the rear of this Roman force, but that Roman force is not willing to get into position. I kept trying to bait it to come across here to turn its back so I could hit it with the cavalry, but it was being more resilient and smarter than that. You can see them here moving on the outskirts. And I have to say, I don't know if a graphic update came in or what, but this looks beautiful, more beautiful than I remembered Attila being. So we got the Romans in the backfield here, kind of just scouting around our city, and they're going to position themselves in such a way that you can see my guys are desert hurlers. That means they are firing slinger shots. That means they're in a perfect position to not get hit. So I'm going to be rolling in with some archers who can presumably shoot high and above. But with this Roman heavy armor, it's going to be hard to get anywhere. My cav is going to be pulled back. I want to perhaps land an assault on this Roman force here that's now pushing forward. There you have their elite Ballistari. Wanted to take a big chunk out of my guys, and you can see the Ballistari and all the enemy archers will make quick work of our desert tribesmen. Now these guys can have, good ambushing tactics, and they have high attack and all that stuff at times, but, with the low armor, it's not going to be a fight you want on the defensive like this. So on the right, we can watch over the plains here where our Mavia's Chosen and other cool, awesome warlords are lining up. This is my Desert Warlord. Let's take a look at some of these units. Just looking beautiful right there. So yeah, we're lining up on the flat, open beds, facing off Tagmata Cav. At least the onagers are disabled, but Tagmata Cav with reinforcing spears, that's not something we want to charge upright, and so that's why I have to have these Tanukid pikes in close support. Meanwhile, the center of the city is burning. You can see that bombardment now coming in through here. They're trying to do as much fire damage to the city as possible. That's a tactic that will, you can see here, the more damage you do to a settlement, the more total universal damage it'll do to your settlement. So, you know, that is very deadly. Speaking of deadly, we now have just our guys getting chewed apart. And like I said, again, we don't have much in the way of defenses. Oh no, here it comes. So this castle of sand, these people dressed in robes, they are not at all prepared to meet Romans on the defensive like this. Yes, on the advance, when they have the initiative, when they can ambush, I'm sure we can hold toe-to-toe. But against a Roman formation like this, we're on the defensive, it's going to be an uphill fight. But I know uphill fights are what you guys enjoy. Try and catch this shot, see where it's going to go. Ooh, falling just short. All the enemy shots raining in here. And now we can look at these Roman positions right through here. This is such a scary sight. Now the Romans are going to be moving up. All up at the front. Here comes a charge. They're going to throw their plumbata, I assume. Lining up point blank. And yeah, they're just going to shield up right in front of us. This is such a scary sight. A return fire is coming in, but these Roman cohorts are ready for that. And now here comes the push. And our line looks to be super thin here. These are just desert spearmen, so we don't have much in the way of defense. But take a look at what's emanating from that central courtyard back there. Tons of fire shots doing almost as much damage to our troops as we're doing to the enemy right there. And the Romans have their shields facing us, so actually we're getting the worst of that engagement. Our front line here is going to absolutely collapse. It's what you expect when you're fighting against these Roman legionnaires. And so that just means the armored Sagittari can get closer and closer, continue to pick away at our guys. Here's more damage being done to our desert spears. I did want to put this on pause because something is going on. A couple of things have been going on. We've been sucked up into those engagements. So the right initial clash and then pullback. The center is going to become engaged. Over in the back, I've been able to get some Palatina defectors of my own to engage with these enemy forces. I have some of my own javelin men who were in this position who just thrashed the enemies. You can look at all the javelins that went into their back. So I'm trying to win this cost effectively. Looks like it's working. The other unit is going to be forced back. They were chasing away my hurlers. My hurlers could then come back. So that's going well. What I'm doing is I'm trying to plan an assault here. So you can see we're tying up the enemy forces in the front with our archers and slingers and whatnot. Ambushers are going to soon reveal themselves. But the main thrust of what we're trying to do here is get a nice clean charge through the back. So let's watch some of this. Romans totally unbraced, so right through the front I wanted to hit as many of these Romans as possible, nail them down, but with the heavy armor that they have, they took it like champs. So I'm going to try and disengage from that fight. We'll see how many of our horsemen can get out of there. So the Romans chasing desperately. Looks like we did lose perhaps a dozen or so, and now the deadly plumbata picking off a couple more of our guys. So looks like with my sandstorm lancers I killed 93 Romans for about 30 losses. Or are we coming back in for seconds against these Romans? I figured that the Roman heavy infantry is going to be our doom. And so I wanted to get as many nice clean charges. Presumably, I would have preferred to have this while they were engaged. Oh, man. Yeah, like I said, presumably you want to do hammer and anvils while the Romans are engaged, but I wanted to hit them in the back, which I did. Cause enough of a distraction to come in with my Tenukid ambushers. But man, these guys, the Romans were clued into my assault. I didn't get quite close enough. As close as I would have liked, and now my guys are getting hit by the plumbata. Ranks upon ranks of my guys now getting just hurled on from all sides. You can watch some of this engagement. My guys are getting hacked to bits with the supporting fire. This ambush is not going well. I mean, a couple suicidal fanatic charges here and there to kill some Romans, but man, look at the supporting fire. The Romans just have so much missiles and projectiles to throw at us that it is just going to be the doom of our forces. So typically in sieges, if you're able to sally forth and catch your opponent unprepared, you can do lots of damage. That's what we're trying to do. But with the Roman sheer amount of numbers that they put into this fight, all the precursor jabs, it's very, very hard fought for our guys. Alternatively, you know, if you don't attack, well then you defend. The problem is the Romans brought a lot of artillery, a lot of elite ballistari. And so if we sit back and relax, this is what's shooting at us. We can trace those bolts up into position here. We're following them back down, and this is exactly what would happen if we were to stay behind. So doomed if you do push, doomed if you don't. artillery raining in, buildings on fire. We're going to try and reinforce this plaza where now the enemy is pushing in against us. We have our heavy pikes formed up, ready to try and corral these Romans. And then this is a desolate position to see yourselves. And Romans in the courtyard, you can see our guys pulling back, ceding the front. We're going to tell them this is not the way you can go. We're actually going to countercharge up through here. And a lot of our defenders still not giving up archer support. Now we charge right up through here. Our pikes are going to turn around and hold this position. Kind of charge back over and try and force the Romans back. All our defenders up through here getting shot to pieces by the elite Sagittari, or enemy Sagittari in the distance, who still have plenty of ammo. Man, so we're being forced back, and just the sheer amount of archers that they had, like I said, was terrible. Over on this flank, the enemy decided to push all of a sudden. We countercharged as best we could with Mavia's Chosen, so getting a lot of nice initial kills. But these are Tagmata Cav, so they are the most effective Cav, still doing very, very well in the game, supported by spears. So we got our initial charge off, and what's going to happen now is we're going to get stuck in these engagements against Tagmata Cav. They're going to chase us all the way back to the towers, so that is not going to go well for us. 15 kills on the charge and then surrounded and killed by the Tagmata. We're going to try and rally with our generals committing, my general at least committing to the fight. Enemy Magister Militum getting in on that fight. Meanwhile, my pikes are here holding back the Roman infantry. I'm going to charge into the rear of this, but the Romans have super, super heavy armor, so a direct charge like that, not going to do well. The second I try and pull out of this fight, going to be taking losses, so this is desperate, desperate straits. Everything is going to get thrown into this engagement here. Wedges of Tagmata Cav being thrown into this front. And if we lose this formation out here, that's going to be the end of our cavalry, because that means the enemy spears can turn this in their favor even more. So we're trying to rush everything we can from the city to reinforce this position. My Desert Warlord can hold out for a while. He's excellent armor, very high health, but you know, it's gonna slowly turn in our favor. My pikes are surrounded, so we really have to hold out as long as possible. Archers trying to get into the fight. What I'm trying to do is pull some of my remaining cav back around here. I figured we have the Romans trapped in this little area. We're going to try and send everything we can up against here to put on the pressure in terms of archer fire, and then from the rear, try and charge in with our cavalry. They do have some large onager crew turned about to try and hold us at bay. And these large Roman archer numbers are just, oh god, they're so hard to deal with. So we're going to try and charge right through here. Going to bowl over that initial onager crew, but it was enough to slow down our assault, and now here comes the Roman countercharge. I did have to send one of my units over there to countercharge the enemy Magister Militum, just to hold him back to see what kind of an impact I can make over here. And at least we're tying down the enemy archers. But the second rank here, totally unfazed by that cav charge, is going to shoot right back into my men. And my other force was destroyed by the enemy general. Did take him down to 62, so he got 18 kills off the charge, but that is going to be it for our remaining cavalry. Our bowmen are going to move into position. However, now it's going to be a mix of spears and spears with just my general, and the enemy is now going to be whittling away at our guys, so that is not going well. Over on this front, the remainder of my infantry got cleaned up. It looks like that ambush did not go well at all. Not even that many Roman kills for our efforts, most of it being dealt by our cavalry. I did pull up some of my hurlers into this side to try and deal with these, but yeah, very, very problematic. And man, look over here, I got almost no kills. I think this was mostly just a clean cav charge as I tried to get in here. I was targeting one of those units, so we got counter charged. Ballistari, we're doing work on our guys to the point where we decided to commit with our forces. You can see how many units we lost trying to tango with the Romans afar. And the Roman strategy was, I'll shoot you, and then I'll form my infantry up into square or testudo formation, what have you, shield wall right in front of your eyes, so that if you try and countercharge, my archers are just going to pull back to a safe distance, and then you have to deal with my infantry. Now we do have our elite infantry engaged, these Kushite Shotelai, so they should be able to hold out for a pretty sizable amount of time. But man, these are grinding fights. Let's return back over here where it looks like our forces are crumbling. You can see the remainder of our guys now pulling back some of our own cavalry. All the defenses we threw out here were just ground to a pulp. I think it was a combination of too much Roman infantry poured into the breach, The supporting fire of the artillery and archers just crushed any resistance. Plus our units who are back here, the archers themselves, yes, they're well defended with these parapets and all that stuff, but we don't really have effective shots. More Romans charging into this position, and they're going to try and work the flanks. It looks like they've spotted another way out of this courtyard. They're trying to direct themselves over to that position. Our own archers staring down at them. Man, this is just horrendous killing field. And yeah, we don't have much left to defend on the top, so that's why I'm shuffling these Kushite Shuttle in the back and some of these skirmishers to try and fend back the Romans. I think that's the only reason they didn't decide to commit. Over here, our cavalry was finally mopped up. I left my general committed. I wish it hadn't been my general, but he stayed committed. Pulling out would have been even more tragic. My archers here got a fair amount of kills against the Tagmata, limiting their total numbers, but still, these guys are perhaps the most cost-effective cavalry in the game, and so they came out all the better. We're falling back on this flank with the Romans in hot pursuit. They have their own pikes moving up. Our pikemen are going to be pulling back very, very quickly to the tower, just so we can have, you know, some semblance of a defense. My archers here are going to be trying to hold out as long as possible, get the last remaining shots targeting the enemy general. We're not going to let him get away without some minor losses, so definitely want to inflict that. You can see I'm targeting 2 of the enemy ranks. Tagmata Cav, when in wedge, are good on the charge, but that's not what you want to do. They're going to be taking a lot extra damage. So there you go, me chewing up the ranks. They're going to decide to call off that assault, and now we can hold off the rest of this formation on our pikes. You know, ideally, we would have had our entire force made up of these pikes, but like I keep saying, they would have shot us to death. So the Romans, you know, obviously proving why they were a world-conquering nation, especially with their army. So yeah, desert tribes are interesting. I think they do better on open field battles for sure. Hurlers there are out of ammo. They're going to get charged by the Onager crew. I'm going to try and draw the enemy forces out even further before I recommit. Over here, the Romans still not sure they want to come up here because I have enough forces to do damage. Looks like they're going to try and start to pull up these elite Palatina. We're going to move into position. What I decide to do is shuffle these skirmishers over here. I'm putting them up against this position so I can destroy those elite Palatina, hopefully save my allies' desert warlord. Here I'm going to be giving them a charge order just to halt the Romans, and let's see how these type of engagements play out. Holy shit. That was a brutal kill right through there. So some of our elite infantry can definitely hold their own against the Romans, as long as they're not getting shot up by the supporting ballistari, which it looks like they're going to be doing just that. Over here, I've told them to fire away. And so we're starting to even up the odds, and this is becoming just a bloodbath. So a lot of my javelins going to be chewing away at the Romans, but unfortunately our allied general has now tanked. We're going to charge in some reinforcements to try and save our general, but I think that's it. He has been killed, and so with his death, yeah, you can see that's going to precipitate a mass rout of our guys. Not going to bode well for our units. So over there, our guys mass routed, and up through the center, the Romans are able to move on from the courtyard finally, charging right along with our guys, chopping up some forces as they go, and now they're going to be able to move onto the plaza. So that is the end of the battle. The moral of the story is these desert tribes hold up much, much better when they can take the initiative in the open ground. And in a grinding fight like this, trying to hold out in a city, you're going to get shot to pieces, you're going to get ground to pieces by the Roman legionary force. So that's it for the battle. Hope you guys enjoyed. I definitely hope to bring you more with these new factions. They have a lot of cool stuff with them. I did have a series of battles that I recorded a while ago. However, they were on a custom map, and every time I try and load up that custom map replay, my game crashes. So unfortunately, it looks like I won't be able to share those with you. So instead, I'm going to have to host my own battles, and that is obviously a little hard to do in Attila when there aren't too many people online. Anyways, let's end the replay on a nice cinematic shot of my guys retreating there, unfortunately. So a loss for us. I wish Attila would tell you how many units you killed, but yeah, we got spanked pretty hard in that battle. My guy is getting a pretty decent mix. However, this is underperformance for everyone. These Mavias chosen are very expensive, so 2 of them doing pretty well. This one total money loss. All these archer units doing nothing against heavily armored Romans. My pikes doing nothing. Only the Roman defectors doing well. Tenikid ambushers getting a decent amount of kills on this one. The other one got flattened. Even my general only getting 60. My ally doing a little bit better, especially with his cav. Some, 105. The rest doing nothing. Again, our skirmishing power for nothing. Elite warriors, it looks like doing much better. Perhaps we should have invested more in that. And then these desert spears were just shot to pieces. So overall, the story is on our side, shot to pieces. The opponents, ranged units doing most of the damage. The infantry taking it very safely, moving up cautiously. And then the committed tenses here, committing just as our guys are exhausted, cleaning up house. And these onager crews doing a fair amount of damage, every single one of them. Over here, Leandro Ramos. He brought mostly an elite force, so the Tagmata cav being some of the best cav you can bring, killing it right there. Large onager killing it. And these numeroi, very elite Roman infantry, 225 kills, 165 on this Protectores, even on his auxiliary Palatina. And yeah, I can't say enough about the Roman cost effectiveness on the assault, and even the advantage they have in archer just poops on our guys. So hope it wasn't too much of a slaughter. Again, I like these uphill battles, and I hope to bring you more of them in the future. See you in the next one. Peace out.